So moving on to the second method, so we've got platform as a service, web apps. So again, very similar to how it works with the virtual machines, we always recommend having application gateway in front of any web applications that will be public, whether that's on a PaaS web app or whether it's on a virtual machine running IIS, for example. If you're using the web apps and at the back end you're just using the default Azure websites.net, that will already have a valid certificate for you to use end-to-end SSL with, so you would just need a public certificate for your front end, and then you can have end-to-end SSL, which is really good, a secure way to secure your web applications. I just wanted to talk a bit around service endpoints. So service endpoints, what they'll do, as you know, as you may or may not, the web apps and Azure SQL are public endpoints within Azure. So by default, they sit on a public IP address, and any traffic going to them will have to go over the public internet to get there. Service endpoints can be enabled on subnets that are traveling to the web apps and SQL. And what that will do is it will send the traffic over the Microsoft backbone network as opposed to over the public internet. A good way to keep the traffic private as opposed to over the public internet, but it's important to understand that that web app and the database, it will still have a public endpoint and a public IP address, so it's not truly internal traffic. And there's still a public endpoint at the end that them services are sitting on. Nevertheless, it's a much better way than just leaving the traffic going over the public internet. So if you can, do use them. Azure Private Link has been around for the last year or so, but more and more services now are becoming GA. So Private Link goes one step further and allows you to integrate the service, so whether that's a web app or Azure SQL, into a network of your choice with a subnet of your choice. And what it will do is it will get a private IP address from that subnet. So it makes connecting from on-premises to your Azure services, such as the SQL database, much easier. And then you can also route that through the firewalls using route tables and user-defined routes. It also means that the connection is truly internal, and it removes that service from a public endpoint as it would with service endpoints and puts it within the network. One thing to be aware of is web apps at the moment for Private Link are still in preview, so they've not gone generally available. So we do recommend that if you've got production workloads that you want to use Private Link with, then you may not want to use them with web apps at the moment, because with preview features they can change at any point. And it also looks like at the moment the Private Link will be coming to the premium tier of web apps, which can be quite expensive for some customers. So just want to be aware of, really. Saying that, Azure SQL databases, they are generally available for Private Link, so definitely take advantage if you can. And there's a full list on the Microsoft website in the documentation that explains all of the things that are in preview and what's in generally available. And then just to finish off this slide, I just wanted to talk around app slots. So you may or may not be using app slots at the moment, or you may or may not be aware of them, but what you can actually do is with your web apps, you can have additional app slots, so you can deploy your code, whether that's through DevOps or just manually, to an additional app slot. Maybe you've got a development app slot, and what that will do is it will create a separate endpoint for you to access your web application on, so you can deploy your new security upgrades or your new features to your application with these app slots without taking down the main application that's running. And then what that means is you can test your application, you can move users slowly over to it, and when you're ready, if you're ready to go fully, you're ready to switch basically that older application with the new application, you can just switch the slots and it will send all traffic to the new app slot without changing the application name or the URL or anything like that. And you can control how much traffic goes over at a time. So maybe you just want to send 25% of the traffic first, and then 50%, and then 75%, etc. App slot's a really good way to do that.